So we're just going to go through, it's going to be a lot of information, so feel free to take notes if you have, but this will all be available on the hidden link that will eventually get out to you once we kind of start. But Chris, Dylan, and I, we've all done flag football. We all started off as officials before we became supervisors and program assistants, so we literally have been in your shoes, me 3 years ago, Chris probably about 4 years ago, and Dylan, a few years ago too. So, we're here as a resource throughout the season, and obviously any questions you have throughout this time, feel free to ask, okay? So first and foremost, the things that you need to play, the biggest thing is being a UNCW ID. This is going to be more of our supervisors and sign-ins, not much the officials, but they need their UNCW ID to play. Some equipment to be aware of: there is no hats or jewelry at all in our game except for medical alert bracelets. So, men sometimes they put on wristbands, women as well, but you'll see more, the girls having, earrings all over their ears, any piercings. All that needs to come out. Whether they say it can't get taken out, I just got it yesterday, they can't play with it. They can't put tape over it either, and that's going to be something that as officials you'll be able to see early on in the game when people are warming up. If they have those band-aids or you see piercings, that's when you want to get it before the game starts. Pretty self-explanatory. You have to wear athletic attire, no jeans, khaki shorts, sneakers, no open-toed shoes, stuff like that. And then all our games are played up front at the field complex.
I can tell you the jewelry part is the most important thing, and that is your job to keep track of jewelry. All right, Zach, Andy, and Danny are prime eyes when they come out there on the field. They will immediately, before they even say anything to you, be like, hey, that person has a necklace on, or that person has a bracelet on.
Zach and Andy are a lot better than I am, but still spot on.
That's the number one thing. So before you start a game, when the teams are warming up, that's the number one thing you should be doing, is scanning everything. I don't know if you've worked for us before, but for flag football, but the new change this year is they're allowed to have pockets now. In the past, they weren't allowed to have pockets in their shorts or their pants. Now they are. The only difference we'll cover a little bit later as we go through.
So here's scorecards. This is something that the back judge specifically will go through the exact positions, but this will be a back judge responsibility, and this is what you will be filling out throughout the game and will be giving to the sign-ins person at the end of your game. So if you just look down and read it, it's not a very hard thing to figure out. It's just you're keeping score. It can get very confusing, especially in the heat of the game. So it's something that if you are the back judge and you're doing the scorecard, you have to really make sure, because you're the only one that's going to be having the score, and dead set reliable. So I'm not really going to go through it because, like I said, it's really not that hard to figure out. But so the score is the first part on the top. But this part under here, the unsportsmanlike conduct. Whenever you throw an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and we'll go through that a little bit later as well in specifics, but those will also be put on the scorecard with the player's number on it. Okay, so whenever you throw or have to just immediately eject somebody, that's also your job to put on the scorecard for our records, because that player, if they got ejected, will most likely be suspended, or if they get enough unsportsmanlike conducts throughout the year, they could also get suspended. So just be sure that's also something that you keep on the scorecard here.
Yeah, if this isn't filled out at the end of the night, or if it's not filled out correctly, you get a call from us either that night or the next morning, because this has to go on our file for everything else, for our brackets, playoffs, things like that.
Yeah. All right, so equipment, it'll be a little easier when we get there tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll probably go through equipment again, but the basic equipment is pylons going to be in the back of the end zone. The cones, which will be just one yellow and one orange cone for the referee to spot the ball. And then yardage markers, you'll just have the goal line, the 20, and then the 40, then the opposite 20 and goal line. So that's the basic equipment. You are responsible as officials to set up the field. Sometimes if you have a nice supervisor, most times I usually set up the field on the Gator because it's a lot easier, but technically it is your job to set up the field. So definitely know how to do it when we're going through it, and throughout the year you'll probably be doing it more often, okay? Equipments, the shirts, they're all in the back in the building up at the fields, so they're just stripes. Obviously get your right size. You don't want somebody getting a small if they're actually a large, because it just doesn't look good, okay? So must be tucked in. Make sure you look sharp or look good, because that also enlists confidence in yourself, okay? So if you don't have all the equipment or everything, it's not going to look good for you. Flag belt, that's for the players. They should have 3 flags total, 2 in the side and 1 in the back, and that's something that in the first parts of the game, it's not going to be an issue, but it's in, the third, fourth quarter when players have been sliding all over the ground and been grabbing and they're putting on their belt a bunch of times, where you get, one in the front, one in the back, and one in the side. Okay, and especially for guys, you probably don't want a flag in the front. You probably just want them on the sides. Okay, so just be aware that is something that will be a throughout the game kind of thing with the flag belt. Braces, obviously, we're not going to not let somebody wear a brace if they've been injured in the past, but if it's obviously exposed metal or dangerous of any sort, we're not going to risk them or somebody hitting it, to get hurt. So just something to be aware of. Most braces don't have exposed metal, or else that's a broken brace, I think. It wouldn't really do much good, but that's just something that also in terms of player equipment. And then lastly, people like to bring towels, especially when it gets kind of colder and more condensation later in the season. They're going to want to bring a towel. They can't hang it on their pants because that looks like a flag. Okay, so if they want to bring a towel, that's fine. But initially, they'll have to put it on the ground in between the cones when we set up, and we'll more explain the cones. But towels are allowed, just not hanging off like a flag would look like. Okay. So any questions so far about basic equipment and stuff? All right. So moving on, this is what the field will look like. These are all painted lines on the turf, so it'll look like this every single time. We'll be playing on field 3 and 4 on the turf fields. And I mentioned before the pylons, so there's 6 total on both sides, so 12 total. There's one on each side of the goal line, one on each corner, and then 2 of these are in the back on the hashes, and they're also not in this picture, but they're supposed to be a yard off of the line. So just a yard back, that's the pylon to, for the end zone purposes, and it's on both sides of the field. The yardage markers, like I said, you have a goal line 20, 40, and then another 20 in a goal line, and these are just red things that say goal line 20, 40 on them. So we'll kind of go over that a little bit tomorrow. On the field, the painted lines, the 3-yard line, 10-yard line, and the X in the middle are the main ones. The 3, 10, and then the 20 are used for extra points, and then the 14 is used on the initial first drive or first possession, or the start of any possession. We're going to start it on the 14. Okay.
Any questions? I know that's a lot of numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
Just think of it as X marks the spot when you start the game. Just think about it like that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so legal equipment, so this has not been updated a little bit, but you are allowed to wear pockets, but those players cannot wear flag belts. And I guarantee you, especially because this is the first year that we're implementing it in the full flag football. We did on the 4-on-4 in the spring, we did it, but this is the first year that we're allowing it in the regular flag football season. So a lot of players, I guarantee you, will come up with pockets and they're going to put flags on, and they're not going to think twice about it. So that's our job, to be able to see that, because it's the reason why we had no pockets in the first place, because it's dangerous if somebody's reaching for a flag and can easily get their finger caught in a pocket, and that's a broken finger, So just make sure that we're aware of that as an illegal part of equipment. Pockets with flag is illegal. Belt loops, you can't wear any khakis. They shouldn't really be wearing any shorts that do have belt loops, but it's kind of the same thing. You don't want to get a finger caught. Exposed drawstrings on the athletic attire, if they do have a drawstring, especially if it's not just 2, if it's like 1, make sure that's just tucked in so that nobody grabs onto that either. Okay. You won't see this too often, but if shirts can't physically tucked in, they have to be at least 4 inches above the flag belt, just so they're not covering the flag belt. And in terms of tucking in shirts, you want to try to say that a lot throughout the game, because people's t-shirts will just go over the flag belt and just make it a lot harder. So just make sure that the flag belts stay tucked on the outside of the shirts. And then this is just a tiny little rule that we'll probably go over too. In terms of if somebody does have the pocket so they can't wear a flag belt, or their flag belt falls off during a play, it goes to 1-hand touch. And this is if they have pockets, they don't have a flag belt, it's more obvious. But if a flag belt falls off during a play, as officials, you want to yell that it's 1-hand touch. Okay. Sweatshirts with a hood and front pocket is illegal. They'll have to tuck it in, but usually you can't really find an easy way to play with a hoodie or a sweatshirt. So usually those are not very good things to play with. No build hats, so like that, you wouldn't be able to play in a build hat. It's a hard surface right there. Bandanas with knots are not allowed, a hard knot on the back. Jewelry you mentioned. Toboggans, snow hats, they're all fine because they're not hard in general. And then bandanas, I guess if they don't have a knot, if they're just kind of tied around, they're fine as well. Okay. And then metal cleats are completely prohibited, so don't let anybody play with metal. Okay.
With the one-hand touch rule, we're going to keep going over this continuously throughout the week because it is a new rule for 7-on-7. So our established teams are the people that usually play in a normal 7-on-7. This is different for that, so we're going to keep going over this. But with the one-hand touch rule, that's going to be from the shoulder right here all the way down to the knee. All right? And how we're implementing that is going to be kind of within proximity. So if I go and I go like this, I just made contact, right? All right, obviously he's down. If I go and I go like this, and it's close enough within that proximity, he's going to be down. All right, you're going to blow the whistle and mark the spot. That is to ensure that the people who don't play by the rules or who are unfamiliar with the rules gets a chance to play, but then they still understand, okay, hey, I need shorts with no pockets so I can play actually with a flag. All right, so we're going to keep going over that throughout the week because it's something different and something that the players are going to have to get used to, but it's from the shoulder all the way down to the knee.
Additionally, with the equipment, in order to play and use our pennies, participants must wear a shirt with sleeves. So that should be caught by the sport assistant or the supervisor. But if they get to you and they're not wearing sleeves and they're wearing one of our pennies, you may tell them to go put on a shirt with sleeves or you can't play.
Yeah. All right, so now we're getting into the real rules of the game minus equipment. So first and foremost, for men's and women's, it is going to be 7 players, 7-on-7, and the minimum to start a game is 4. We'll probably go over forfeits, so I'm not even going to get into that. And then co-rec is played with 1 more, 8 with 8 players total with 4 males and 4 females. And on that, you must have 6, which is 5 to start a game. So it is 6. You can start a game with 3 males and 2 females or 3 females and 2 males, but the main thing in terms of co-rec is that there cannot be one of more than a +1 of a gender on the field at one time. So you can't play with 4 males, 2 females, 4 females, 2 males, 5 males, 1 female, 5 females, 1 male, 6 males, no female, so pretty much, if they don't have enough, they're going to be probably playing. It's more of when the teams don't have enough that they have to play. Okay, if they have 7, they'll have to play with 4 and 3. Okay, and if they show up with 5 males and 1 female, then they don't have the minimum to play because they don't have enough females. So just be aware of that. It's a little confusing, especially co-rec. Obviously, men's and women's is a lot easier, but co-rec it gets a little iffy. But you'll have a supervisor out there, and we all know the rules. So just be aware of that. The minimum requirements.
If they have the min to play, we're playing. All right. The team goes, hey, I got 2 people signing in right now. They're on the way. Can you just wait 3 minutes? If you get behind in your game, the rest of the night gets on. Mm-hmm. All right. And then that means you leave your shift later, and then we leave our shift later, and then everything kind of gets thrown off. All right. So they got the minimum to play. We're playing.
Yeah. And teams get the option if the team that doesn't have the minimum, so we have a team with 6 and a team with 8. The team with 8 can play with 6, or they can play with the full amount. They have the full amount. They can play with that and they go on. But most teams especially in the regular season, they'll want to have a competitive game, so they'll kind of go down. But it is up to the team that has more, how much they want to play with.
Additionally, for start of the second half, start of the new quarter, or substitution, change of possession, you're going to always want to recount number of males and females on the field. Just because they start off with the right gender role requirement doesn't mean that they won't put more males on the field than they're supposed to be. So just continually checking that, and if their gender role gets off, then you need to stop it and make sure that the right number of each are on the field.
Yeah, and that's part of your pre-snap responsibilities. We'll cover more individually, for your position and stuff, but yeah. Dylan's definitely right. You need to be checking all that, especially before the snap.
All right. So coin toss. This is you'll do this before every game to determine who gets the ball first. If you have a coin, then you're more than welcome to bring it. But most officials will just do this. So if we have 2 teams right here, just one behind me and then one. So you'll usually have 2 teams. You'll be doing a captain's meeting. The initial coin toss, I would say 1 or 2. Ask Dylan behind my back.
2.
Showing the other team what I have, and a 2, and that's how you initially do the coin toss. So Dylan gets 2, so he has the following options: offense, defense, end of the field, or defer. Do not try to don't let it, but try to talk a team out if they choose defense. They actually want defer, okay? Because if they choose defense, they're choosing the option of defense. They're not deferring their option, okay? That's the difference. So if they choose defense, all right, they're choosing defense first, but then the other team has the option. They're not deferring their option, okay? So when a team says defense, they most likely mean defer and will choose in the second half, okay? You understand that? Offense, if they choose offense, they choose offense. The other team will then choose the side of the field, and if the initial team chooses the side of the field, that's also them choosing an option. So they're choosing which side of the field. I don't know, maybe the sun's out in one side that they really want to choose, and then the other team will get the option, okay? So if you watch football, you kind of know how it works, but just in terms of our game, a team will most likely not technically really want defense. They'll be wanting to defer. Okay, and then if the captain defers their option, in the second half, you'll go over to the other team and ask them the same thing. If they want offense or defense, most likely if they defer their option, they'll choose offense. Again, if they choose defense in the second half, I don't know why they do that, but it's pretty self-explanatory when they defer their option. Okay, and then like we mentioned before, the ball will start on the 14-yard line. And this is all done during the captain's meeting, at the end of the captain's meeting, which we'll also go over a little bit later. Okay.
And that 14-yard line is marked how on the field? X. All right, it's excellent.
All right, timing. The games are 4 10-minute quarters. The clock is only going to stop for timeouts in all parts of the game, and then in the last 2 minutes of the second half only. Okay, under 2 minutes, the clock will stop according to high school rules, and we'll go all into that probably tomorrow or the next day. So we're not really going to spend a lot of time on that. And then a 5-minute halftime and 2 timeouts per half. Does everybody watch football in here in some capacity? A little bit? Okay. Because I'll probably reference some stuff, but I want to make sure that everybody kind of knows a little bit of terminology before I just start throwing out some terms. So the under 2 minutes in the second half, the clock's going to stop according to those rules. 5-minute halftime and then 2 timeouts per half. Okay. These are all things that during the captain's meeting you'll be going over. And that's just in terms of timing what we're going to be doing. Okay. A lot of teams you can go on to the next one. A lot of teams get confused about only in the second half. They think the clock stops, in the first half too, but just remind them that it's only in the second half, so they'll have to call timeouts if they want to stop the clock late in the game. All right. Scoring is for touchdown, we'll do a little bit of scoring modifications, but touchdown in men's and women's is 6 points. The extra point, the team gets to choose for a 1-point extra point. It's from the 3-yard line, so that first, the closest one to the end zone. 2 points from the 10-yard line, which is the second one, and then 3 points from the 20. These are the only three. We don't have yardage markers. We just have those 3 lines plus the 14, so it's easy to see the 1, 2, and 3. And then you ask the team what point total they want after every single touchdown they score. A safety is 2 points, and that's when a team recovers, or the offensive team would be in the end zone and they get their flag pulled or something along those lines. And then when on the extra points, it's not like the NFL where you can return it for like another 2 points. We kill the play. There's no returns on tries. And the same thing in overtime. We do college overtime rules in terms of each team gets a chance no matter what happens. And there's also no returns in overtime. So if a team's on their first possession and they get intercepted in overtime, the play's dead. They can't run it back for a touchdown. And then the mercy rule is both at 2 minutes. So we have a 2-minute warning at the second half only. The mercy rule is 19 minutes for men's and women's games at that 2 minutes, and then 25 points for a co-rec game.
I would definitely know that last one right there.
Yep.
Because that will be on the test.
All right, so I guess we will go over the clock right now.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, so I said that we were going to go over the clock. This is incredibly important. If there's any...
Sorry,
no, go
for
ahead.
correct, women's is 9 points.
Yeah. So you can go back to the previous slide. Quickly, in terms of scoring and co-rec rules, we have it different. If a female scores a touchdown in a co-rec game, it is 9 points, it is not 6. So a lot of the good teams, or if a woman is involved in it whatsoever, so unless if she passes it or she runs it through the goal line, okay, or catches it. But a lot of good teams they'll have, if it's an open play, they'll have a male throw it to a male, and sometimes they'll stop at the 1-yard line, wait for a girl, lateral, and let her run through for 9 points, okay? Just know that's only in co-rec, that's not in the women's games, but in co-rec, if a woman is involved in the pass, she catches in the end zone, or she physically runs through the goal line, those are all 9 points. And that is the only difference in the scoring. All right. So this is the last 2 minutes of the second half only. Okay, I don't know why it says each half, but it's for the second half only in our game. So the clock stoppers that are major clock stoppers, meaning the clock is going to restart on the snap. The back judge, I mentioned before, they have the scorecard. They also have the watch. So if you are the back judge, you'll have to be aware of the clock, especially in the fourth quarter when it comes down to 2 minutes. All right, so these major clock stoppers, if you watch NFL and college, they're pretty similar when it's going to stop the clock and it's going to restart on the snap as opposed to the whistle. So an incomplete pass immediately stops the clock. It'll start on the next snap. If they run out of bounds on the snap, timeout starts on the snap, touchdowns, they all stop the clock, and the succeeding play is going to start when they legally snap the ball, okay? So these minor ones, it gets a little bit more iffy. So same thing in college. On first downs, the clock will stop momentarily until everybody kind of gets a reset. But once you announce the down and distance and you blow your whistle, the back should be starting the clock once the referee blows their whistle again. All right, officials timeouts. If we have, if something happens and you guys need to get together, you call an officials timeout, and then the next play you'll start it on the whistle. And an inadvertent whistle, I'll get back to penalties. An inadvertent whistle, so if somebody, hopefully this doesn't happen too often, but it probably will, because it happens every year. An inadvertent whistle, so if somebody blows their whistle in the middle of a play for no apparent reason, first of all, kill the play. It happened. It happens. Just own up to it is the main thing. And then that is a minor clock stopper as well. Doesn't happen often, but inevitably, I've had one. I don't know, Chris, Dylan, if you guys have had an inadvertent whistle, it sucks, but you just kind of have to own up to it, okay? All right, so going back to penalties, most penalties will, in the under 2 minutes, are going to be a minor clock stopper. So if you're about to start a play and the offense gets a false start, it's still on the whistle, or defense gets a pass interference, still on the whistle, okay? Unless a major clock stopper is in effect. So for example, if we have like a pass interference on, the defense and the offensive team throws the ball out of bounds, that'll stop the clock because it's a major clock stopper, even though we had a penalty, but a major clock stopper is going to trump any minor, okay? Does that make sense? So
I know this sounds like a lot, but we will keep going over it every day.
Yeah. And definitely ask questions, obviously now, and I mean we still have all the way up to next Monday where we're going to still be doing practice games. So if you have any questions, it sounds hard now, but it's just modified. It's most of the fundamental things are similar to what you see on TV, but the minor things, they seem like major things when they're right in front of you. Okay.
And if you're thinking like who's doing this or who's keeping track of this, everyone's keeping track of this on the field. So you work at four-man crew. There's referee, line judge, back and field judge, all right? The person announcing all of this is going to be the referee. So how it's going to sound when you do your zone line to gain or anything like that, your pre-snap, it's going to be sitting there, first down, 20-yard line to gain, clock starts on the snap, and you get you ready for play. All right, that's kind of how it's all going to sound. But this is something that you communicate with your whole crew. So anytime if I'm working a different position that's not referee, I'll sit there, I'll mark a spot, or I'll make eye contact with my referee and go like this. So he knows it's on the snap, all right? So that's everyone's responsibility to keep track of this, because you're not only working one position, your entire time here. You're going to be cycling through every single position.
And there are mechanics as well, which we'll also go over at a later time, that indicate these major and minor clock stoppers. Arguably, the first 38 minutes of a game could go really, really well. You officiated the greatest game of your four-person's lives, but if you mess up these last 2 minutes, this is when everybody remembers it, because this is the most important time of the game, especially if it's a close game, where obviously we have more responsibility, but we could also obviously mess up more with more responsibility. Okay.
You're good. No, we don't get a commercial break. First down. Yeah, 20-yard line to gain. Play is closed. On the snap.
Everything that he just did, that I just said, only thing is on the snap before they're ready for play whistle, all right? So you're going to announce the down, the zone line to gain, if it's an open or closed play, if it's correct, and then if it's the last 2 minutes, the clock starts on the whistle or on the snap. And then you're going to hit you ready for play, all right?
Yeah.
No, we don't get a commercial break.
So this,
First down. Yeah, 20-yard line to gain. Play is closed. On the snap.
Boom, clock starts. So So we got a triangle right there, so the play is going to start on the wall. It's going to be on the next snap, all right? 'Cause that's a major concept.
You get.
Our referee is right over here.
Just give me one.
Yeah.
We'll hear it one more time. Our receipt's incomplete pass, so what is that, a major or a minor? Give me a major. Incomplete pass, so it's going to start on the snap, alright?
Yep. Yeah, major means the next one starts on the snap, and the minor means it'll start on the whistle, okay? And then in terms of the, like Chris said, the referee, it's just down, line to gain, open, close if it's correct. This is a men's game, so it doesn't make a difference. And then if it's under 2 minutes, so if it starts on the snap or the whistle, okay? All right, so how many people do we have? We could just do 2 groups if you want, just 1 and 2. All right, so we can just go with U3 and then U2. We have crew sheets on the iPad, so it's just some basic questions asking you, and just go over this as a crew and see what you guys can figure out. We'll get an iPad for you two over there. Yeah, you'll go. Done, just put a character in there so it submits, because I think all of them are required. So the first one is the line of scrimmage or the neutral zone. As the referee, you're going to be the one that's setting this, and it'll be an orange cone for offense and a yellow cone for defense that you set up as the neutral zone, just so we don't have, I mean, players aren't wearing pads, obviously, so we don't want players on top of each other, and then when it's snapped being, next to each other. So this neutral zone gives a little bit of a buffer in terms of contact, and nobody can be inside of that 1 yard, okay? The only person required to be on the line of scrimmage is the snapper. Defense can do whatever they want. We don't have any like on the line of scrimmage rules in our game. And then everybody else, they can be wherever, but they must be set at the time of the play, at the time of the snap. That should be say snap. If they're not, this is a live ball penalty, so there's no like arena football where like running up from the back and then saying hike or anything. So everybody has to be set at the time of the snap, or else it'll be an illegal motion or an illegal shift penalty. Okay. A little bit continues with line of scrimmage. The snap must be in one continuous motion, or else it's an illegal snap and we're killing the play with the penalty. And then one continuous motion obviously is a judgment call, but for the most part, one continuous motion, you kind of know when it is and when it wouldn't be, okay? So they can't, if they're snapping the ball, it'll have to be just like that. It can't be up and then toss like that. That's not one continuous motion, all right? And then the player receiving the snap, so the quarterback most times must be at least 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, so we don't go under center in our league, just again to decrease the contact in our game. Flag football here, it's not a contact sport, it's a limited contact sport. So you're not going to see no contact, but obviously we don't want to see big collisions, especially when we're not wearing pads or helmets. At the time of the snap, I went over it a little bit, only one offensive player may be in motion, and they cannot be going towards the line, and that's more penalties I think we'll go over a little bit today. But if a player is going towards the line of scrimmage, that's an illegal motion, so they can be going in motion at the time of the snap. So this way, if the line of scrimmage is over here, all right. And then lastly, a rule that you probably won't see a lot of is all players must be at least 5 yards away from the sideline and inbounds at the time of the ready for play, just to avoid somebody sneaking on and potentially cheating by acting as if they're out of the play, but they kind of sneak on the field. Okay.
The only exception to that last one right there is if they are guard. So
Yeah.
if the defense acknowledges that player, if this is out of bounds and I'm right here as a wide receiver or something, and there's a defender right in front of me, they acknowledge that I'm in play and I'm still playing, so we're fine there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So we'll play one more time. If you hear the audio, you'll hear what happens here. It's not one continuous motion. So she picks it up, looks back, and then tosses it at the side.
so yeah,
Yeah. can go through. So that one is an illegal snap penalty. Just make sure it's one continuous motion. This is a line judge and referee call that'll be making line of scrimmage penalty calls.
So you see our line judge right here, Laura, who was our past graduate assistant. Let me see what's happening.
I don't.
She's basically talking a player out of a penalty. So this is kind of what we're seeing, kind of you don't want to disrupt the flow of the game by continuously throwing flags. If you can talk somebody out of a penalty, like say I'm in the neutral zone or I'm offsides as an offensive player lining up, it's a simple, hey, blue, back up, or my number, whatever. I take a step back, we're good to go, all right? If I'm still over here and you're trying to help them out and the ball's snapped, all right, we're throwing a flag out there, we're going to go on, all right?
And you can kind of see in the middle there what we mean by the cones. You can see the one that's next to the ball is orange, and then the one right above it is yellow. That's about a yard. It doesn't mean to be exact, but just don't make it too wide or too small. And that's what Laura was referencing. I'm sure an offensive player lined up in the neutral zone, and they can't do that. The offense has to be behind the orange, and the defense has to be behind the yellow. So if anybody's in the neutral zone, it's the line judge's responsibility to let them know to back up, and then if it's snapped and one or the other team's inside, it's a dead ball penalty, a neutral zone infraction either way.
Talking players out of penalties pre-snap is going to help the flow of the game better, because if you just don't talk them out of those penalties, you're going to be throwing a flag left and right.
Yeah.
And so if they commit the penalty, then throw the flag by all means, but just talking them out of those pre-snap penalties, if they're lined up right on the sideline, it's just as simple as go check to the huddle, and then you come back out here. And it garners rapport with the players if you're trying to help them out, because they don't see you as just trying to flag them all the time if you're helping them out.
Yeah. All right, so a live and a dead ball. Somebody explain to me what it means without kind of reading it, what a live and dead ball could mean. If the player comes up to you, what does a live ball and dead ball mean? What would you say? Yeah.
A live ball, I guess, would be whenever it leaves like the snapper's hands or the snapper's hands.
Yeah.
And dead ball is when it can be a couple things. It could be like when the ball goes out of bounds, when incomplete pass, or if the player's down.
Yeah. So live ball becomes live when it legally gets snapped, okay, and it stays live until an incomplete pass or out of bounds happens, which then would be the dead ball period. When official blows his or her whistle, that's when it's dead, and then throughout the course of the play, anything can happen. But in terms of penalty enforcement, it's good to know live and dead ball, how to distinguish. So it seems simple now. Live ball is during the play and dead ball is after the play, but there are some gray areas when this can be an issue, okay? But the general gist is like you said, between the time when you blow your whistle to start a play, in between it, the ball becomes dead. All right, so we're gonna go through a few of these. A play ends out of bounds, touches the ground, pass comes incomplete, backward pass hits the ground, or simultaneous catch. Can't say I've seen a lot of simultaneous catches, but that would be a play in. Flag belt is removed legally. Play ends. One hand touch if it falls off, or they're playing with pockets. The punt touches a receiving player and hits the ground, and the player touches the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. That's when you blow your whistle dead. You don't blow your whistle during the play for live ball penalties, and that's kind of just basically when a play ends and when it doesn't. The main thing I'll say, I guess, to avoid those inadvertent whistles is let the players kill the play themselves. Right when the flag gets pulled, we don't expect you to be on the whistle and you immediately do it, okay? Even if it's a second after, if you blow your whistle after a flag gets pulled, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Obviously, we don't want 5 seconds going by, but the last thing we want is you blowing your whistle and somebody reaches for a flag and they miss it, and then you blow your whistle because you thought the flag gets taken. That's the one reason why inadvertent whistles happen, okay? Is because we think this person's about to get their flag pulled, and for whatever reason the defense misses it, okay? So just
I'm going to look into that as well. So keep in mind, your whistle is an indication the play is dead. It is not blowing the play dead. So the play should already be dead when you blow the whistle, essentially, is the thought. So if you think of it like, I'm only indicating the play is dead, not actually killing the play itself, it may help you also avoid blowing your whistle too early.
Yeah.
So.
Bonus question. Simultaneous catch. Who gets that ball? Offense or defense? offense.
Yeah. It's truly simultaneous offense, but that's, like I said, it's a very rare thing to happen, but if it does happen, then just have eyes on it.
Go. Balls away. Go. Balls away.
All right, so what we're showing here, basically the referee, every time you throw a forward legal pass, you're going to yell balls away, because that
Balls
indicates
away.
you threw your one legal forward pass. And then you see right here, the ball, it's incomplete, hits the ground. Right after it hits the
Balls
ground,
away.
the official blows it dead. All right, simple.
Yeah.
Go.
Just like that. And then our official marks the spot. So he waits till the flags get pulled. He sees the flags are pulled. He blows the whistle. He comes up and marks the spot for the referee to come through. All right, simple as that.
Go.
I know there's a lot of stuff going on right there, but I'll tell you it happens right there. Alright, ball hit the ground. Alright, there's no fumbles here or anything like that. As soon as the ball hits the ground, it's dead.
Yeah.
And that spotting right there, the responsibility goes for the referee. As you see, he comes up and marks the spot. He'll dump the spot to the line judge, and then we'll switch. So we'll go over all that when we get to mechanics later on tonight, and more into tomorrow. Same deal, you see he drops the ball, it's down right there.
Yeah. The main thing of those last two plays is that both of the referees here, they blew their whistle multiple times to indicate the play's dead, because we do not want people diving on the ground for fumbles whatsoever, because like I said, we have no pads whatsoever, so that, it's an injury waiting to happen. So if it does happen, a backward pass, if somebody is running and just drops the ball, just kill the play. All right, on the flip side, we'll go over it a little bit. A defense can't strip the ball, or else that's an illegal contact penalty. So just, if that does happen, if a defense strips it and they have the ball, kill the play, plays down, penalty on the defense. All right, so no fumbles whatsoever. All right. All right, so running, very simple. A runner is a player in possession of the ball, and we don't do stiff arms or guarding the flag belt. All right, the ball can be handed in any direction, and if the ball strikes the ground, it is dead where the ball hits the ground and belongs to the team who fumbled. Okay, so fumble in quotation. So if I pitch it backwards, it's still going to be down if we don't catch it back there, but it's not going to be a fumble, so it's not going to be a free run for who gets the ball. Okay, so similar to like a college or a pro game, if they fumble backwards, or the ball goes backwards and it goes out of bounds, they don't get the yards up there. It gets down wherever they were. Okay, does that make sense?
Additionally, since we don't have fumbles, we don't allow the defensive players to try to strip the ball from an opponent. If someone comes across and just try to swat the ball to someone's hand, that's going to be illegal contact, because the ball is going to just basically be an extension of that player. So if they come in and try to punch the ball out, like, they can accidentally miss and punch the player, so that's going to be an illegal contact type penalty.
Yeah.
Same thing you'll see for roughing the passer. If I throw the ball and next thing you know, defender high fives me, right, and trying to block the ball, it's going to be roughing the passer, because the only thing, it's a non-contact sport. The only thing I should be going for is their flag belt. So I should be down here, not up here. So if I make contact up here, I'm obviously not playing the flags and roughing the passer. Just think of it like that.
Third down.
Yeah, we don't have any restrictions regarding the quarterback running. It's not like 5-second rush or anything. They can run, wherever they want. Like we mentioned before, just make sure that they're at least 2 yards back, so they'll be kind of in a shotgun formation most of the time. And this is a weird play because he's technically a passer, but then he becomes a runner, so that's just something, as you officiate, you'll be able to see a little bit better. Okay?
Third down.
All right, so we just went over running. So passing. Chris mentioned before, a team is only permitted 1 forward pass per down. That's why as a referee, you want to make it loud to say balls away. Sometimes they want to do a little trick play and Dylan's a receiver and I'm the quarterback and I throw it backwards to him because I want him to pass it, sometimes you see, make sure you indicate it's a back. So you just say back, you just yell that. So then the defense, offense, everybody knows that was a backward pass and they can still throw it again. All right. But if you say ball's away and then Dylan tries to throw it again, that's an illegal forward pass because you only have one during a play. All right. And then once a ball is thrown, it's a pass till it's caught or incomplete. Any player is eligible to catch a pass. Pretty self-explanatory. The team can throw as many backwards pitches as they like, but they can only throw it forward one time. All right. And then illegal batting, I wouldn't say you see, but just to keep in mind, you can't, purposely bat a pitch forward or backwards. All right.
With that pass though, the one legal forward pass, just because I crossed the line of scrimmage and I haven't thrown a legal forward pass yet, does not mean I can go back and throw a legal forward pass. So say I am, as a quarterback, run out and I'm all the way out here, that's the line of scrimmage. All of a sudden I pitch it back to Dylan, he can chuck it forward to a receiver out there, okay? Because they haven't taken that one legal forward pass yet. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's very important that you say back or balls away, you keep track of what's happening.
Yeah.
Balls away. First down, first down.
All right, so you see our line judge right there, which is on the line of scrimmage.
Balls away.
Play's coming towards him, he's going to follow that play all the way up.
Yeah. And the ref yells it. All right, it's not like a ball's away. It's so everybody can hear.
Balls away.
And if you have any play that's, any play that's in doubt if it's close, usually I go with back just because I don't want to say balls away if, and then we'll kind of talk about intentions because there's a lot of, gray area in terms of if it's, kind of a straight shot, what you call, but when in doubt, I'd say go back. This one's obviously, forward, but just something to think about as well. All right, so a catch. A legal catch, player must have possession of the ball and land inbounds with at least 1 foot or another body part. So this is not the NFL. They don't need to get 2 feet. They only need to get 1 foot or a body part. So a body part, any body part counts as a foot. If the ball is caught simultaneously, it's dead. Just call it dead and it belongs to the offense, like we touched on that before. And then if going to the ground, must complete it all the way through. So in this is kind of like, you've probably seen some controversy on TV, but we're the same here. If they catch it, go to the ground, and then it just flies out of their hand, that's incomplete. All right. And then obviously this is a judgment call if it gets close, but just know that, most players aren't good enough. They're either going to catch it or they're going to drop it. It's not going to be too difficult to realize if they catch it. All right. And then when in doubt, give them a catch unless somebody really sees it. You better be 110% sure to overturn a catch because we don't have replay. So when in doubt, I'd say go with a catch. And then after an incomplete pass, that's self-explanatory, just goes back to the previous spot. Okay.
This is something, if it's close, you are selling. All right, you're going out in the middle of the field, either calling it incomplete or going out there and you're calling it a catch. All right, this is not something where you're just if it's real close, you're gonna blow the whistle and mark the spot. Everyone's gonna sit there and look at you for the judgment. So you're selling this if it's close, all right?
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important for the official that's closest to the player to make the call. If it's a long pass all the way down the field, the referee shouldn't be the one saying it's a complete catch or not. Just like the referee's not going to call a touchdown if they're not on the goal line.
So watch it again and see.
And then the next video will show a closer angle. Who's got catch? Who's got no catch? So catch? Anybody? Got one? No catch? No catch? I'll watch it one more time. All right, here we go. 1 foot. Maintains position as he goes to the ground, so it's going to be a catch. All right, so watch. Grabs right there, he's got 1 foot down right there, maintains possession all the way through. It's going to be a good catch. All right?
Yeah.
This is extremely important that you are there to see that as whatever position you are, mostly field judge or back judge. It is extremely important that you have that angle because in real time, this is something that you may or may not, see all the way through.
Yeah. And just in terms of positioning, the referee's back there. He doesn't know what happens. Line judge probably isn't watching 10, 15 yards up the field. So this is going to be probably a back judge, field judge call. All right, so if you're one of those positions, you're watching most of the time on long passes is what it's going to be. All right, so in terms of positioning, make sure that you are watching the right things and not following the ball or, just not paying attention in general.
And this is something for me, and I know all of us do. When we see something like this, every time, I'm going to sit there and digest everything first. I'm going to sit there and go, all right, he's got possession. That's a foot. We're good. I'm going to say it first before I sit there and do anything in my mind, all right? Because if I automatically act with an instinct, it may or may not be right. So digest everything first, and then give a call.
Yeah.
I hate this video so much. See, he's taking a few steps. This is a good angle right here. He never has possession of this ball as he's going to the ground. So you see the ground pops the ball up right there, and so it's gonna be a no catch. It's something that you have to just be at the right angle at. So in terms of angles and positioning, we're gonna go over positioning a little bit later tonight, just basic, and all the way through the week. We're gonna harp on positioning a lot because it's extremely important that you get the call right. All right, 'cause this could be the game, and in this case, it was, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's next. Another one for Des.
So this is something that we're talking about in terms of body parts being down in contact with the ground to make it a good catch or not. It doesn't have to always be feet. If you look right here, right in this area, his butt is right down, we're good. He maintains possession, a body part hit the ground, inbounds, we're good to go. All right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be feet.
All right, we like to show these plays. I mean, these are professional and, varsity high school plays, so most likely you're not going to see anything close to that, but just know that these are the plays that happen, that can happen, obviously. Okay, so just be aware of them, and then know, when you're thinking about it, if it does come close, it's not the first time you've ever seen it. All right. All right, screen blocking. So this is a main part of when you're deciding between illegal contact and not on the offense. All right, so the defense can rush. There's no Mississippi. They can rush immediately after the snap, and then you're allowed to block in our game, but as we said, we want to have limited contact, but not necessarily no contact. So for blocking, blockers must keep their arms to their side. So gentlemen usually go like this, ladies sometimes go like this, but neither of them could go like this outside of their body. Okay, so you have to be over here, over here. All right, so like the little thing says below, contact outside of the body frame is a foul. So a lot of times if Dylan's rushing and I'm like this, once he gets around me, I'm gonna stick out my leg for like one last ditch effort to like stop him. That's illegal contact on the offense. But as long as I just go like this and I'm just following him around, I'm not initiating contact, this is fine. All right. And on the flip side, if I'm blocking and then he just pushes through me or he tries to do swim moves, we're not letting any sort of hand engagement from the defense be allowed in our game. All right. So in terms of the last part, a block charge in basketball, who gets there first, who initiates the contact should be illegal contact. If a defender comes in and bowls over the offense, probably going to call illegal contact on the defense. If you see a defensive player come in and he just goes like this, the offense probably is pushing a little bit, that it's going to be illegal contact on the offense. This is probably the least called, not the least called thing, but the most important thing that is not called consistently, because it is hard, okay, especially because a lot of people don't know the concept of screen blocking. So that's something you should remind them in the captain's meeting, that they can only keep their arms within their body frame and they can't block with their hands, and the defense can't use their hands to get around anybody. All right, does anybody have any questions on passing, running, catching, or screen blocking? All right.
With the blocking is teams will get sneaky. They'll put their arms like this so they think they're fine, but then they'll go out like this too. So even though this is kind of like within their body, they're going out with their arms. It's gotta be against the body too.
Any type of, like on defense, any type of swim moves, moving defense. I mean, they can. some of the good defenders who sometimes have played in high school, they like to kind of feel the offensive player. That's fine as long as they're not pushing back or making any forcible contact. But they can't push through, swim through, do any type of that stuff, as the offense can't block with their hands like that.
When he's saying swim, basically he means like if there's two offensive players right here on the line, and I'm the defensive player going for the quarterback. When he says swim, I can't go like this through them. I push them out like this.
Like that.
I have to make a valiant effort to go around that. If I did that, that's going to be illegal contact on the defense. All right, and that's something that they can't understand in the first week or two, because your natural instinct is to just break through them. But I just initiated contact, right? So I have to make an effort to go around the two screen blockers to then legally try to go for the quarterback. Does that make sense?
The other swim move would be this. If he's blocking me and I come and go like this and go around him, that's one that you also see. So either one, it's because I'm pushing off him to go around. So that's another thing to keep an eye out.
Contact during a screen block may or may not be legal. The use of screen blocking is common in flag football. The legal screen greatly reduces the potential for injury. Screen blockers must have their hands to their sides or behind their back. Any use of the hands, arms, or elbows during a screen block is illegal. It is also illegal for a screen blocker
That's
to use
something you'll
their
see like
legs
every
against
time.
an opponent.
Is that little leg right there?
Yeah.
An opponent must go around the offensive player in order to avoid contact. If the opponent charges into an offensive player who has established position during a screen block, it is illegal contact.
Yeah. Good. So we're back on our campus. Watch the guy on the left, the only two that are going in. Right. Is everybody seeing what he did there? Why that should be called an illegal contact penalty? Can anybody see why? Yeah. So it's really small. It didn't affect the white defender too much, but it's still coming out of his body frame, and that's going to be an illegal contact penalty. All right.
And it shows that we're actually making a call and not just going, oh, what's going on? And it shows that we're actually making a call and not just going, oh, what's going on?
Anybody got anything?
I think that one probably looks pretty clean. I mean, if blue obviously goes with a little harder, a little more contact, and pushes those guys and splits them like Chris said, the swim move, and he splits them, that would be a penalty, but this one, looks pretty fine to me. So punts, we do have punts. Prior to it, on a fourth down, the referee has to ask the team if they want to punt or play. Playing mean that they go for it. They also have to communicate this decision with the other team. All right, so this means that every fourth down you say, fourth down, team elects to punt, team elects to play. All right, make that known loud so everybody knows. All right. The punt has to be in a continuous motion, and the offensive team still needs the snapper on the line of scrimmage in terms of minimum numbers. We don't have any fair catches, but anytime if a team wants to just go down after they catch it, they can, but there's no fair catches. The main thing here is that there's no fake punts, so once they choose punt, they have to punt, or they choose play, they have to play. Unless they call timeout, then I believe it resets and they can choose again. But punts, I mean, you do see them occasionally, but a lot of our teams, they do like to go for it on fourth down a lot. But just know, with a punt, as we talked about with fumbles, if the team catches it and drops it, there's no fumbles, plays dead right there. And the same thing for, I think, if it can bounce a little bit until, or is it down right when it is? Because that's usually
It can bounce until it hits a player.
Okay.
So if it hits the player and then hits the ground, and it's dead. But if it hits the ground first, the player can pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I muffle the catch, and it hits me and then goes down, we're down right there. All right, another thing about punts is that the offensive line cannot cross the line of scrimmage until that punt is actually kicked. So I cannot have an active moving forward towards the line of scrimmage until that ball is kicked. That's something that you have to communicate in the captain's meeting as well, because they're not going to understand. And you will see that a lot. We got a couple clips here. So if Jonathan's kicking and I'm on the team and he's going to kick and all of a sudden I go like this, we got a live ball penalty. We'll go over all the penalties as we go through the day, but it's a live ball penalty. We're just going to drop the flag right there and we're going to let the play go through.
Punts continue. Neither team, so offense can't go through. Defense can try to block, but it's obviously going to be hard because they can't rush through until it's kicked. Any player on the receiving team can catch or advance a punt, and then once the punt would cross the goal line, it's dead and with touchback brought to the 14. All right. Everybody good with punts? Okay. So he waits, that's fine. We say one continuous motion when it's kicked. That's fine. The one thing about that, if there's maybe 20 seconds left in the game and he waits there for 10 seconds and then he punts it, you can throw a flag for delay of game. But rarely will you see that. And you know, it's a good punt. Nobody goes past. That's fine.
It's just a motion.
Yeah. So pretty much everybody goes and he punts it. So if the camera goes back to it, but that would be a live ball penalty. You don't kill the play, you let the punt happen, but it's a live ball 5-yard penalty. And yeah, I guess it would be a kind of penalty that would be just, yeah, I'd say neutral zone. I mean, just do something, but yeah, it's definitely a penalty. They can't, until it's physically kicked, nobody can cross the line. All right. So safety and touchback / momentum. This is only applied around the goal line. Does everybody know what a safety is, first of all? Does everybody know what a touchback is? All right. So this is applied around the goal line. So the questions you would ask is, in terms of safety or touchback, is who put the ball in the end zone. So if my end zone is right here and I'm trying to go this way, if I have the ball and I keep on going back, I'm the only one putting the ball in the end zone. So if I have my flag pulled, it would be a safety. All right, but I guess I don't really know how a safety would be not a safety on the defense, but I just kind of go over momentum. But the same thing was the team who put the ball in the end zone in possession. So if the ball's getting batted around and then it eventually drops or it goes out of the end zone, that's when you kind of have to think safety or touchback. So if I'm a defender and I hit the ball and it goes out of bounds or out of the end zone for some reason, that would be a safety, or that would be a touchback. Yeah, but then if for some reason the offense player hits me and then it goes back, it would be a safety. Rarely do you see it, but we do say if it happens, just be aware of it. And for a safety to happen, for a safety not to happen, the entire ball has to be out of the goal line. So if even the tip of the ball is touching the goal line, it's a safety. All right, the entire ball has to be out, or the entire quarterback, if he's running around the back, he's got to bring the ball all the way out of the end zone for it not to be a safety. All right. And then on the flip side, for a goal line, only the tip of the ball needs to touch the goal line, and then we have a touchdown. All right, but for a safety, it's the entire ball has to be out.
With the momentum part right here, we'll have a video that shows it too. That's basically saying that my momentum carried me into the end zone, and I got down in the end zone. It's not going to be a safety, it's going to be a touchback. So to think about that, say I'm the defensive player, and I catch an interception. I'm catching it, my momentum for catching the ball gets me into the end zone right here, and I get the flag. That's going to be a touchback because I myself didn't put myself in the end zone. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I didn't willingly go into the end zone after I caught that interception. My momentum brought me there. It all makes sense when we see the video.
Yep. Men roll, we just went over that. We just go right to the video.
So you see that? He catches the interception right there. And his momentum is dragging him back into the end zone. So it's not going to be a safety, it's going to be a touchback. Watch it. You're going to go on the 14.
Just bring it back.
So kind of everything kind of starts on the 14.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna go. Do you want to break right now? All right. So we'll take like a 5-minute break. We just went through a lot, and then we'll come back and then we'll go over some co-rec rules. Okay.
We play. I as a male will throw it to male Jonathan right there. That will close the play. All right. So what does that mean? The next play right there has to involve a female to open that play again. So if a play is closed, there may not be another male-to-male completion on that down. So if I second down and I throw it to another male, it's going to be illegal forward advancement, illegal male advancement, and then it's going to be a loss of down. And how to open a play. So you guys want to do that?
Yeah. So in order to open a play, so we have a closed second down, we have a closed play. Involve a female player. That means that you have to throw the ball, catch it, and we did away with the running. So they either have to throw the ball or they have to catch the ball, female player, and it has to go for positive yards. So they can't do a little thing where we'll throw the ball to the girl like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then she'll be down and then we'll be open again. It has to go for positive yards, okay? Also must be a legal forward pass, so if they pitch it back to the girl and she runs 20 yards, that's still a closed play the next play because they don't have the legal forward pass. It must meet these 3 criteria to open a play again, all right? And the female could either catch the ball or if she throws it, that will also open a play. So the best teams will have a very good female quarterback so they don't have to deal with this restriction a lot of the time. But usually what you'll see is first down, we have a male quarterback, throws it to a male, second down, female, and then they can kind of get stuck unless they open the play again. If a male runs through the line of scrimmage with the ball, so the quarterback sneaks through the line of scrimmage and he goes for 10 yards, the next play is closed. All right, because he ran through the line of scrimmage. If he runs the ball and gets sacked and nothing happens, no positive yards, the next play is open. All right, so if I just think a male advances the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, the next play is going to be closed. And then in thinking of when a play is closed, if a female is not involved in the positive yard play in some capacity, it's going to be still closed the next time.
Know those 3 because that's everyone's responsibility, not just the referee.
Yeah. And then last part is penalties do not affect the openness or closedness of a play. So if we have if we have first down, male-to-male completion, and then we have a flag guard during the play. So we already had the male-to-male completion. The next play is going to be closed. Even though it's a replay of, say, first down, it's still going to be a closed play next, all right? So sometimes it's very easy to forget this, but just make sure that you know penalties do not affect the openness or closeness of a play, all right? All right, so let's go through, this is a little scenario, and then I'll say what I was going to say. So if on a closed play, a male passes to a male who catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage and then advances the ball through the line of scrimmage, this is an illegal male reception. So it's a 5-yard penalty and a loss of down. The next play, not affected by the penalty, still closed. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? So to open the play, they would have to have that female involved. And our mechanics for this should be mirrored by every single official on the field at all times. An open play is just the referee will be like this with an open palm, and a closed play is just across the chest with closed. All right, it's a very easy thing to not lose track of, but it's an incredibly important thing for the teams. All right.
And that's why it's important for all the officials to do it, because there'll be times that you as a referee might get confused because you're forcing a penalty, you're dealing with some dead ball stuff. So your back judge, your line judge, your field judge are there to help you, remind you. So between the 4 of you, you should 100% always know the status if it's open or closed.
Yeah, don't always rely. The referee's the one that's announcing it at the beginning of play, but don't think that just because you're a field judge one night means that you don't have as integral part of a role in this crew. Okay, everybody should know what down it is. Everybody should know what zone line to gain is. Everybody should know if it's open or closed for the co-rec game. All right, we have our individual positions, but we do well as a crew and we do bad as a crew. All right, so just know, like Dylan said, it's a lot easier for a referee if my field judge has the closed play as I'm enforcing a penalty. So then when I finally get to the next play, I know, we have the close play. All right.
Here we go. First down, 20-yard line game. Play is open.
Yeah, that's everything that he announces. There's a lot that happens in the referee position announcing wise, all right? So in the last 2 minutes, you're going to announce the clock, how it starts and stops. with co-rec, you're always going to announce if it's open or closed. But you're always announcing what down it is, zone line to game, if it's open or closed, how the clock starts or stops, and then you're hitting the ready for play.
Yeah. I mean, you could potentially be saying, yeah, you will be, in the last 2 minutes of a co-rec game, you'll be saying 4 different things. But in a co-rec game, you might be saying 3 things. But just know, the referee's saying all the information loudly so everybody can hear, but also the other referees on the crew are essentially giving them this information, all right?
In a hurry-up offense situation, I will tell you, this is not something that you have to hit every time before the ready for play. So if it's a close game and we're in the last 2 minutes or whatever and it's a hurry-up offense, hit the ready for play and then say all this stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
So it allows them to kind of continue what they're doing.
Yeah.
With open and closed play, it's really important to get it right. So if there is any discrepancy or any confusion about the status of the play, you do reserve the right to have an official's timeout. You can stop the clock, and then when you get it figured out, the clock will start on the whistle. I would try not to do it too often. It just makes you look confused and unreliable if you're meeting with your having meetings like every other play. If you're having meetings, so try to stay on top of it, keep track of it. But if you do like under 2 minutes, this is when you need to get those plays right.
Yeah.
Second down, goal line to game, play is closed.
A close play, female quarterback, it appears.
Second down, goal line to game, play is closed.
Simple as that, right?
All right, so overtime. We have the captain's meeting at the beginning of the game, and then we will also, if there is overtime, we will also have another captain's meeting to go over the overtime rules. Same deal, the visiting team gets the coin toss and do the exact same thing in terms of 1 or 2 for the offense, defense, all right? If we have a second overtime, we'll switch who goes first and second. So if we have Team A and Team B, Team A's offense first, then Team B's defense, then Team B will be Team B will be offense second, then the Team B will be offense the first on the next overtime. So you kind of go back to back if we have multiple overtimes, all right? They have 1 timeout for the entire overtime. Their timeouts from the halves do not carry over at all. So if we go to 8 overtimes and they use their timeout in the first overtime, they only have that 1 overtime. Like I said, overtime is similar to college, but instead of starting, I believe they start on the 25, we start on the 10, and the goal line is always the line to gain. So if they get a bunch of penalties and they get pushed back to the 40, it's still the goal line to gain, okay? And we don't have any restrictions on you have to go for 2 points or 3 points. They can go for 1 every single time, but just know that each team has the chance to possess the ball at least once, okay? Sportsmanship. So on the scorecard, this is underneath the unsportsmanlike conduct. Every time you officiate, you should be giving both teams a sportsmanship rating. This is graded 1 to 5. 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. 5 would be they didn't complain 1 call and they didn't say anything to you the whole night. So rarely are you going to have a 5. And 1 being they were like the worst team you ever had. So rarely you might see a 1. So usually between 2 and 4 is what you're going to be most likely rating them on, okay? And this should be done right after the game so obviously you remember it, but this is incredibly important for playoff eligibility in the playoffs that the teams have to keep a certain sportsmanship rating to advance. So if they have a really, really bad game and they have like 5 unsportsmanlike penalties, don't give them a 4. They deserve a 2 or a 1 in that regard, okay? And this is something that you do as a crew and you grade them, okay?
With sportsmanship ratings, if you do want to give a team a 1 or 2, one of the first things that the supervisor will ask you or should ask you is, did you have any unsportsmanlike penalties? Did you throw someone out? Because if you didn't throw any of those type of penalties, you don't have as much justification to give a 1 or 2. And if you just give a 2 without any kind of reasoning, any UC penalties, it'll probably just be overturned in the office. So making sure that if you think it's going to get out of control, throw those penalties, because that gives you backing to if we do have to end the game early, or if you do have to give them a 1 or 2.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the way I usually did it, I mean, usually everybody's a 3 and a 4, and then I usually just dock them 1 every time they get an unsportsmanlike. So usually team starts out as a 4. If they get 1 unsportsmanlike, probably go down to a 3. If they get another one, probably a 2. And then if they get another one, then they're not getting above a 2. If they get, multiple unsportsmanlikes, okay? So that's something that as officials, you're going to be one responsible for that, okay? We went over that. That's just all in word form. All right, so handling conflicts. So this is a thing you're gonna have to do. It's probably it's the worst part about being an official. Once you put on the stripes, you're automatically a target for the players, and you are gonna get yelled at, but more times than not, it's nothing that nobody can't handle, okay? If they're mad about a call and don't personally attack you, leave it alone. So if like you make a call incomplete or something and they thought they caught it and they say that's horrible, I usually probably wouldn't even say anything and they go back to the huddle and we move on. If they attack you or use profane language, you should address this immediately. If they say, you are horrible or are you effing kidding me? The second one, I'm definitely throwing it in sportsmanlike. The first one, you could use what we call a public warning, which we'll go over on the next slide. And it's definitely depends on the type of person you are. Me personally, I like to think I have a little bit thicker skin, so I might go let them get a little bit away with a little bit more before I throw it in sportsmanlike. But definitely no profane language, especially if it's loud. We want to handle that right then and there. And then any sort of taunting or baiting an opponent should also not be tolerated. Okay.
Find your specific style. So this is something that you're going to find out when we do practice games together, and when you go out your first time by yourself. Find how you like to do things, and find where you draw the line. But when you draw the line, it's got to be in concrete. All right, it can't be in sand, because if it's in sand, obviously you can erase the line, draw it again. Now that's not too bad. Erase the line, draw it again. All right, for me, my own style is if you curse at me in a negative way, that's where I draw the line. All right, you're automatically unsportsmanlike, you're automatically out, because you just told me you don't want to play anymore. So find your own way of doing things. Find where you draw that line.
Yeah. All right, so this is the steps in handling conflict. The first one being a quiet word, one-on-one, where you and only the player can hear the conversation. So say I'm running down the field and I drop a ball and I curse under my breath. Chris could be the field judge and he says, hey man, I heard that, just watch the language. That's a quiet word. Nothing happens, only me and him, and we move on. Public warning, if I've been doing that all game, or if I've been saying that's horrible like 3 times in a row, I can say a public warning. A public warning needs to be public. It's not that's enough, it's that's enough. So everybody can hear on the teams and they know, okay, he's been a problem, and the officials now know it. All right, so the next thing, a captain's meeting, preferably not to be done during the game or late in a game, because this is when the tensions are running the highest and the teams are least likely to to listen to you. If you need to do this, do it early and not late in the game if the teams are so bad that you need to get the captains together and say, hey, get control of your teams. You can do it, just not preferred. And then we move on to a little bit more major stuff. Unsportsmanlike conduct, this is in your toolbox, use it. If I curse under my breath, I don't want to see a lot of unsportsmanlike being thrown through that, okay? But if I curse out loud and everybody can hear it, or I am yelling, if I hear somebody yelling at you, attacking you as an official, throw it unsportsmanlike, okay? An ejection, if something's bad enough where you skip all those and you right to an ejection, that's also possible, okay? But the main thing is, like Chris said, don't draw your line in sand, draw it in concrete. Don't say one more word and you're gone, because then they're just gonna say word, okay? So just make sure you have your own style, and when you do hit that line, just make sure you're confident in it, okay? If they've been saying that's horrible all game and you're literally just taking it all game, they're going to keep on doing that all season, and other players are probably going to realize that, okay?
And these are not steps, these are tools. You do not have to follow every single step before you lead to an ejection, all right?
Yeah.
If I sit there and I punt the ball and go, that's effing horrible, you guys are effing horrible, and you just exploits continuously on, I don't need to sit there and go, hey man, I heard that, take it down. All right, he's obviously gone, all right?
Uh-huh.
So figure that out.
Yeah. All right, so watch the official here up to number 11.
This is that quiet word we're talking about. This is the dead ball officiating that we want you to do continuously. All right, so he's gonna go, he's finding a friend there at 11, and he's just telling, hey, can you tell your friend right there to tuck in his shirt? All right, this could be a guy that I've told continuously throughout the game to tuck in his shirt or fix his flag belts, whatever it is. And it may not be getting through because he might not like officials. Because like Jonathan said, as soon as you put on the stripes, they don't like you. Something about it. So he could sit there and find a cool-headed guy right there, maybe the captain or whatever, and just say, hey man, can you tell your friend to fix his flag belts? Simple as that.
Yeah, you use the players as a tool also. Obviously a level-headed player. If the captain's the one that's the bad player, I mean, get another teammate. But the players are more likely to listen to their teammates than you if you keep on telling them over and over. All right. And this goes for sidelines as well. If you're working men's Greek night and there's 50 people on the sideline yelling and screaming, if you just like walk up to them and say, hey, can you guys be quiet? Probably nothing's going to happen. Okay. But if you say to number 11 or you say to the team, hey, I need your sideline to be quiet, probably going to listen to the players. Okay. So just use them as a tool. This is in terms of handling conflict. All right. All right. Penalty enforcement. Okay, so this is something that's incredibly important as a crew. Obviously, the referee themselves is the only one that's going to be physically doing it. But as a crew, if you guys mess up penalty enforcement or we get penalty enforcement, it's not one or the other. Okay, it's not the referee messed it up or the back judge messed it up because they called it. It's everybody has to be involved in penalty enforcement. Okay. So the basic penalties, yeah, you can go on, or like we went over, is live ball and dead ball penalties. Okay, live ball penalties are ones that we're not going to kill the play; they're going to keep on going, and if you do blow them dead, then technically be an inadvertent whistle. Okay, so the first one and the most commonly done penalty in our game is flag guarding. So this is illegally protecting a player's flag by either knocking the opponent's hand away from the belt, putting the ball over the belt to prevent the flags being pulled, or while on a natural opponent, hitting an opponent's hand and preventing the flags being pulled. So contact is required for flag guarding to be called. So if I'm just running like this, even though I'm guarding my flags, don't call it flag guarding. But if somebody comes up to me and tries to grab it and then I hit them, if I'm running and then I hit them away, then that's flag guarding. Okay. What we try to say as officials is they can run, but once they kind of get close to players, to just either reach the ball out or put the ball up, because more times than not, they're going to be running like this. Everybody runs like this, and it's flag guarding every time. So just remind your captains of this. This is definitely something the first week you need to go over in the captains meeting, because a lot of freshman teams or even teams that have played a while still don't get this concept. Okay, so they say, how am I supposed to run, or something like that, and you can say you can run, but just when you get around people, just put the ball up, so then the flags are exposed and somebody can legally get them. Okay.
Yeah, that's a plus too. If you tell teams to run like this with a ball out and say, oh, they might hit it or something like that, that's illegal contact. They can't swap the ball. They have to go for the flag guards. So that's a plus for them. If they swap the ball, be like, hey, you can get extra yards right there. You can get extra 10 yards.
Yeah.
That was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, so watch. There's flag guarding every single play. Just put it that way. Every single play out here, there's probably flag guarding.
See it right about now. Right there.
Yeah. So Sean, you see who runs this here. He got the second one, but you could probably make a case that he has one right as he starts running, because he dips the ball. It's not his hand, but he dips that ball right there. His elbow kind of goes like that. Granted, there might not have been contact, but kind of a hard angle for us. But if you are officiating and you see him go like this, it doesn't have to be just a strict hand. It could be just the ball or his elbow going down. That it could be a flag guard. Okay. Then the second one here, kind of the same thing. He puts his hand back there to guard the flag. Okay. Can't do that.
And you see our official right there. They just dropped the flag, let the play kill itself, and then we're gonna come back to that penalty right there. These are all live ball penalties that we're discussing right now. All right. So we're not blowing the whistle to kill it. We're just dropping the flag out in the spot of the foul, and we're letting the play go.
Yeah. The first flag guard I ever had, I think it was literally the first night, and probably was like pretty close in the game. So I was like, all right, cool, I got a penalty, but I blew it dead. Okay, that's an inadvertent whistle, and technically the play is wiped out. Okay, so just know flag guarding, just live ball penalties in general. Don't blow the whistle for them. Okay.
My lord.
So there, yeah, and then
Right there.
we'll go over one thing real quick at the end. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. All right, so the first one, did everybody see the first one when he's kind of running through and he sticks that left arm right there? I mean, you can't stiff arm out away. That's going to be flag guarding. And then right when he gets his flag pulled, he does the same exact thing, but he gets his flag pulled. And that's one where, say he didn't even flag guard in the beginning, but then the second time you see it and his flags immediately get pulled, that's one where, in terms of preventative officiating, just remind him, hey, make sure you run with your hands up, because even though he obviously guarded, the defense got his flags, and you don't want to penalize him for essentially not gaining any advantage from it, okay? If he goes 10 more yards, then yes, that's a penalty, but you know, in terms of advantage, disadvantage, you can kind of think, don't penalize a team if they don't gain an advantage, just kind of do some preventative officiating there. All right, but that first one was pretty obvious. Yeah, same thing. So he stuck his hand down. Once he got the interception, you can kind of see he sticks his hand down, but the guy pulls his flags anyway. So yes, it's a flag guard, but nothing happens. Just let him know to run with his hands up, okay? All right, so moving on with more live ball penalties. Illegal contact. We touched on this a little bit when we were showing it before. This is when contact that illegally, offense or defense, gives player an advantage. Illegally pushing over a player on the line of scrimmage, contacting the player with or without the ball, or swatting the ball out of a runner's passer's hands. Okay. This is illegal contact is a live ball penalty. In terms of all live ball penalties, try to get that spot. So if the penalty happens right there, try to flow the flag at the ground, not in the air, at the ground, and try to get that spot. You can always move a flag after a play if you really kind of mess it up. So don't be worried about that, but just know live ball penalties, you throw it at the spot. All right. Illegal contact specifically, we did go over it. Is there any questions regarding that? We probably have a few videos on it.
Are hurdles a penalty?
Hurdles? As in
I would say yes, because most times you're going to hurdle and you're going to initiate contact with a defender. So, no. It's I haven't seen it yet. No, it's a good question. And same thing. We do allow diving, but if you're at like the 2-yard line, a lot of teams will try to snap the ball and just dive over the pile. That's an illegal contact on the offense every time. We're not going to allow that to happen because the defense can't really do anything, and the offense is initiating all the contact. So, in terms of illegal contact, it's obviously a very hard penalty to really see who initiated it first, and you know who's the penalty on. So just think about it that way: who initiates the contact, who was there first, legal guarding position, things like that. All right.
For diving, we're going to officiate a lot like basketball. And whoever gets to the spot first. So if the defensive player is in the area the offensive player is diving to, it's going to be illegal contact on the offensive player because the defensive player was already there. If an offensive player leaves their feet and is going for the nylon and then the defensive player slides in, it's going to be illegal contact on the defense.
And then the contacting a player with or without the ball, that's also huge too. So looking at your matchups, you're not always ball watching in your positions, especially like field judge or back judging. And there is no like 5-yard bump here, so as an offensive player. So you have to realize that too. So it's always, the question is who initiated contact, all right? So it happens on the line over here. It happens real quick. You see that?
Is it offense or defense, you think? Yeah. Watch the first thing the defender does, he puts his hands up. That's an illegal contact. Didn't really affect him that much because that guy was going pretty fast, but any type of hand contact, I'm probably calling illegal contact whether it affects them a lot or not, okay? On the defense, like I said, you can have a feeler hand, it's different for the defense, but for offense, there's no going to be blocking like that whatsoever.
He immediately goes like this
Yeah.
and just rides him out all the way.
Yeah.
Balls away. Oh, God.
Alright, so there's quite a lot of things happening
Yeah.
here. And once it replays. So my man gets the ball right here, proceeds a flag guard, and then trucks my man.
And I believe this was called on the defense, this illegal contact, which, yeah.
So what do you guys think? I've already pointed out the flag guard, and we could have avoided the incident over there, but what do you think, defense or offense? Okay, we'll watch it one more time. Let's see why they called it on the defense. right, so this time instead of focusing on my man right here, focus on the defender that he's going to truck. Who's right there.
Well, at the same time, like he lowers his shoulder bags.
He does, yeah. 9 times out of 10, I would definitely give it to him. But if you kind of look, the whole context, he's kind of tripping too. But yes, he lowers the shoulder, so I would definitely give it on the offense. They call it on the defense, however, because if you look at the defender, he's still moving into where that offensive player is trying to go. So if you think of the basketball block charge situations, he's not there legally. The defender's not in his own spot legally. So he's still trying to slide through and prevent him from grabbing 5 belts. Unfortunately, he got trucked in the process.
Yeah.
So you can see it in both sides.
Oh, God.
Yes. You guys see that?
Watch the.
Look on the line.
Yeah.
Right here. This is where it's gonna happen. See that? She was not even trying to go around the player or go for the quarterback or nothing. Her full intention was to make contact with the line right there.
Yeah, she doesn't use hands. She's behind her, she puts her hands behind her back, which is fine, but, she uses that shoulder to literally just hit the blocker.
And this is, the line right here, this is, I want to say, kind of one of the most missed things that officials have is we are so caught up in watching the ball or whatever the play is that we miss our primary responsibility as line judge to watch the line for this illegal contact.
So moving on with live ball penalties, offensive pass interference, the restrictions start at the time of the snap until it's touched or caught by any player, and this occurs on the offensive team. So this is offensive pass interference starts at the time of the snap. Okay, that's the one thing that you'll need to know about that. Defensive pass interference, on the other hand, start when the ball is in the air until it's touched. Anything before that would be an illegal contact. Okay, like Chris said, we don't have any 5-yard buffer, 3-yard buffer thing that the NFL and the college game has. So the defensive pass interference will start when the ball's in the air, but anything contact related will be an illegal contact on the defense. Okay, and this occurs on the defensive team. Both of these, in general, it's if the offensive player, contacts the defensive player and gets the ball in, or does anything that is anything vicious contact, that's going to be pass interference. And then defensive pass interference while the ball is in the air, if they also contact the offensive player and restrict them from getting the ball in any way, that's going to be a defensive pass interference penalty.
Yeah, you got to think who got the unfair advantage in this situation. Okay.
Contact is required.
You guys see that? It's quite obvious right there. If this is a different situation here, and I'll touch real quick after you see it. He knows he's beat, so he completely abandons trying to go for the ball, and he just pushes it away. All right. If Jonathan and I are on separate teams, if we both go up for the ball and we both have some incidental contact, and he goes to the ground, I end up getting the ball. Right? It's 50-50. We both went for the ball. All right, it's a competitive matchup right there. But he completely abandons it and says, I'm going to push him because he jumped before me, I'm not going to get the ball. That's when you see who got the unfair advantage right there.
Yeah, like we say, we don't say no contact in flag football, we say limited contact, okay? Anything that is egregious or on purpose is probably going to be a penalty. But like Chris said, if it's a 50-50 ball and we go up and we come down and we hit, it is what it is, okay? It's contact. You want to box that play in, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but this is obviously on purpose, not going for the ball, get him with a penalty, okay?
And it's extremely important on situations like this that you're not ball watching, you're not looking at the ball, because that ball's not going to commit any type of penalty. Or you have to see below that ball in the matchup right there. If someone gets undercut, stuff like that, the players are relying on you to protect them as well.
Yeah. All right, continuing on, roughing the passer. Penalty for roughing passer is on a forward pass and will be enforced from the dead ball spot. If the run ends, Jesus, it's a lot of words. If the run ends behind A's line of scrimmage or the line of scrimmage or a change of possession occurs, the penalty is enforced in the previous spot. So let's go over roughing the passer quickly. Roughing the passer is any sort of contact, egregious contact after the ball is thrown. We want the players going through a flag. So even if it's a hit on the arm, that's a roughing the passer in our game. If it's a hit on the hand, that's a roughing the passer, okay? They have to be going for the flags and the flags only, okay? So if they run into the quarterback and they just hit them, that's going to be roughing the passer. Whether they hit him down or not, whether it's really, really violent or not, it's going to be roughing the passer, okay?
You see like dead ball spot right here. You'll see throughout the week and through next week, there's going to be a lot of key terms and key phrases that we use to indicate where the next spot or how we're enforcing something is going to be used. So when you hear dead ball spot in a play like this, that's going to be wherever the play ended on a run. So if Jonathan's the QB, he gets roughing the passer, and I'm running all the way up here, and I get deflagged by him, and this is where that penalty is going to be enforced from, this dead ball spot, wherever the ball is dead, not back there, all right? Because I legally got all the way there.
Yeah.
Everybody saw that? He's not going for the flags. He's going to block the ball right there.
There's a completed pass as well, so we're tacking this penalty on. We'll go over this more specifically, but we're tacking this penalty on wherever he gets deflagged up there, okay? And it'll be a 10-yard penalty.
And something you see right there, you can see how he picks up the flags right there. This is just a side note. Yeah. Okay, tell them to leave the flag where it is because it's important for us to know if we're marking something, that the flag stays there until we pick it up.
Yeah, they'll try to be nice, but it's not nice. It's, yeah.
But it just messes up everything that we're trying to do penalty enforcement.
All right, continuing live ball penalties, holding, any sort of grabbing an opponent to gain an advantage. The main holding that you'll probably see is when somebody tries to grab the flags, but they grab a whole bunch of shorts and they pull them back, or they, like I said, they hinder them from going forward. That's going to be a holding. It's going to be a live ball penalty, so you just throw the penalty where it happened. If the player continues to be able to go after they get held, we're going to continue to go at that spot. But that's going to be the most likely one you'll see in terms of holding. Player to wear proper equipment. Sometimes, occasionally, you'll have a player that's trying to put on his flag belt real quick before the snap, like on defense if somebody's coming in and they don't have a flag belt, they'll try to put it on, and if it snaps, that's not wearing the proper equipment. So that would be a penalty. It's a live ball penalty. Just throw the ball in the air, and it's a 5-yard penalty. Not tucking your shirt in all the way around. I would, unless it gets really, really bad and they're purposely not doing it, you probably don't throw a penalty for not tucking their shirt in. Okay.
That's something to where like you have told them all game long.
Yeah.
You're in the fourth quarter, and they're just blatantly not tucking it in.
Yeah.
You're just making a point there. The failure to wear proper equipment. This is going to be a little tough this year because we've made the exception, or we changed the rule to where if you have pockets, you don't have to wear a flag belt, or you can't wear the flag belt. So this is something that you're going to have to track in your own mind, catalog. All right, that person has pockets right there. He's not wearing a flag belt. So something that you have to know. He's not wearing pockets, so he has a flag belt. So it's something that you just kind of have to realize. It's going to be a little different for everyone.
Essentially, I would think of it as if they were out there with the flag belt and say they get it pulled and they're trying to put it on last second to get it on, they can't just drop it on the floor or drop it on the ground and just go from there. If they've had a flag belt on and they need to put it back on, it needs to go back on. They can just leave it where it is because they want it to be quick.
Yeah.
Oh, this also is if they tie their flag belt, which is an automatic unsportsmanlike conduct. So they're all with clips, so they're easily you can pull. If they tie a knot in it, so it's not easily able to pull or you can't pull it at all, failure to wear proper equipment, it's unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah. That looks like, I'll let it go through one more time. Long video. Yeah.
You'll see it kind of right in there, where he grabs a whole lot of shorts and then restricts his momentum going forward.
Yeah. He still gets about 2-3 yards after that, so we're giving him the 2 or 3 yards, and we're just going to enforce the penalty from there. But this is one where he pretty much gets stopped. Like he gets pulled and it's not going anywhere. So that one you just throw a flag, but you're enforcing it from the end of the run. We'll go over more specifically end of the run stuff maybe today, but probably
Kind of
tomorrow.
a lull like this, or they're continuously having a handful of shorts and he can't go anywhere, but he's not necessarily the flag, blow the whistle and kill that play right there. All right, because then we're at a safety concern. Because 9 times out of 10, everyone's going to stop anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is.
All right, so what do you guys got?
Yeah. Yeah, you could probably call holding illegal contact. I mean, they're all pretty similar. And just one thing to keep in mind, if you ever see something like this, but it's kind of a little bit funky how the quarterback's flags stay on through that entire process. Just take a look at his flags. Maybe they're like wrapped around once, but like I said, the flags come off pretty easily. So if there's any time where, you know, somebody's getting their flag pulled and it's obviously not coming off, go and check the flags and just remind them, okay?
You could definitely have multiple penalties here. He flag guards before he gets to this right here. We call flag guard right there, hold or illegal contact right there, penalties offset, and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
We're going to that continuously throughout the week.
But just make sure we have something on that kind of play, okay? Because there's no reason why 2 people should be going to the ground. One essentially being tackled, and we have no call, okay?
Somebody goes to the ground, we need to know why. Okay?
Yeah. All right, so continuing with live ball penalties. Legal forward pass is throwing the ball forward beyond the line of scrimmage or throwing a second forward pass. So if the line of scrimmage is here and I take the ball and I'm throwing it, it's going to be a legal forward pass. The easy way to, as a referee, the easiest way to do it is if it's really close. So say, you know, the referee's behind me and I'm like right here. If I'm the referee back here and somebody threw the ball from like right there, all I'm doing is I'm lining up with him to make sure that he's behind the line, okay? And then it's when, okay, he's behind the line, it's fine. If he's above, then I throw a flag. This one also carries a loss of down, and it's only a 5-yard penalty. All right, and then we mentioned throwing the second forward pass can only have 1. Male advancement, this will be in the co-reg games only, is on a close play, having the male advance the ball through the line of scrimmage or completing a pass during the close play, okay? And these are both 5-yard penalties, but live ball penalties, all right?
What do you guys got?
It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like he might throw the lateral.
Listen to what the referee says.
You guys hear that? He got balls away. He even said it twice because it's so fun. He said,
Yeah.
balls away, away.
And he's screaming that. He's not saying, he's screaming it, okay? So everybody knows, because a lot of teams try to do, you know, trick plays like that, and they need to know if their play was legal or not, because this is a 5-yard penalty and they lose the down, okay? And they don't get what the reception was, okay? So when you're a referee, make sure you know if it is back, then you yell back, or if it is forward, you say balls away.
And with the penalty enforcement like that, we'll cover real quick. Basic today, it's going to be the spot of that foul. So basically what you're thinking is that you're going to stiff the offense. So you're going to enforce it not from the previous foul, which is going to be the line of scrimmage. It's going to be where that foul occurred, and it's going to go back from there, okay? And we'll keep hitting that continuously throughout the game. So a couple things you hear. The play is closed. The female's the quarterback, okay? Oh, where's Jonathan?
Oh. And we enforced it wrong. Actually, it wasn't even called, technically.
That wasn't even called.
Yeah. So we'll watch it again, but just listen with the...
Alright, so what are the 3 things that you need for a play to be open?
What's that? We did a lot of things wrong this play. This is a bad play. You never want to be on these videos, and that is me being the referee. Okay.
So you need 1, and we got 1. Females involved.
Forward pass.
We gotta have a forward pass.
Was it forward? What was a forward pass? Did you hear what the referee said?
He said back.
It was back. So we don't have one thing,
Yep.
and then
Last thing.
Male's gonna break last room.
You got positive yards.
Yeah.
Whether it's a male or female or not. In this case,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have a forward pass, and then you have to have positive yards. In this case, she threw a backwards pass, and already we broke the second.
yeah. So that one, we called the illegal male advancement penalty. What's the next play, open or closed?
It's closed.
It's closed. Okay, penalties don't affect open and closed no matter what happens. This one, I don't think we called the illegal, we didn't call the penalty. I'm not sure if we had the closed. I think we probably did, but yeah. So this is one where it's illegal male advancement, and the next play is definitely going to be closed. All right. How many? Yeah. All right. So we'll go over mechanics. So we've been mentioning these names throughout the day. It's referee, line judge, field judge, and back judge. These are the positions on the field, and we'll keep on going. The referee base positioning, you're going to maintain 7 and 7 off the deepest back, which means 7 yards on 7 yards. So the deepest back meaning most likely the quarterback. Sometimes if there's somebody behind the quarterback, you just want to be 7 yards away, 7 and 7, just so you're not in the play too much. Okay. You roll with the quarterback or until he or she crosses the line of scrimmage. So if the quarterback's scrambling, you want to go with the quarterback. If it comes back this way, you want to just back out. All right, and that's why I keep 7 and 7, so you can be far enough away that you're not involved in the play, but you can still shift with them. And then we've mentioned a whole bunch of times you announce balls away as loud when the quarterback releases the ball, or you say back. Okay.
Your job is the quarterback here. All right.
Yep. All right. So base positioning, we have the R as the white hat right there. 7 and 7 on the goal line. From the quarterback, and like I said, their only job is the quarterback. You don't want to be ball watching. You don't worry about downfield. You got 3 other partners for that. Okay, so the referee is just in the backfield.
All right, next you got line judge. These two are always going to be opposite on the sides of the field. Okay, always opposite, because these two are the ones working in conjunction for the offense, whereas these two are working in conjunction on the opposite sides of the field for the defense. Makes sense? So we're all boxing in everything. So line judge is always on the opposite of the R, and you're going to be on the line of scrimmage on the sideline, okay? Because our primary responsibility is this initial crash on the line of scrimmage. All right, so we're making sure everyone's behind in the neutral zone right there, so no one's in the neutral zone, because how you line up is you're going to be, my left foot's on one puck, my right foot's on one puck. I'm standing in the middle of the neutral zone. Makes sense? And then field judge right here is you're going to be on the opposite of the line judge. You have basically the zone line to gain. You're going to be lined up on the zone line to gain or a little bit forward for it. Your primary responsibility is basically your pass interference, defense, offensive, or if the play actually got to a first down. So if I got to the zone line to gain, that's your responsibility. All right, back judge, your main goal is anything that's in the back area, obviously back judge, but your main goal is to not get beat deep. So you're going to line up behind the furthest defensive player right there, and your main job is to get all the way to the end zone to see if the play is a touchdown or not. Also, you got the pass, offensive, defensive pass interference, stuff like that. But your main objective here is to not get beat deep.
All right, so we're going to go through, keep on going. As Chris said, referee and line judge are both going to be counting the number of offensive flag belts. Don't count. It's tough this year now that we don't have the pocket rule, but it's essentially to make sure that we have 7 on 7 and not 8 on 7 or 6 on 7 or something like that. So the referee and line judge are only responsible for the offense, and then the field judge and the back judge are doing the same exact thing, counting flag belts, counting players for the defense. Okay. Referees ensuring all players become set before the ball is snapped. If not, that's an illegal motion penalty. We'll go over specific penalties, I believe, tomorrow, but that'll be a live ball penalty. And then same thing we mentioned before, to make sure the quarterback is at least 2 yards back. Okay. At the snap, ensure nobody is moving forward at the time of the snap, and one continuous motion like we mentioned. Initial rush for illegal contact, but after that you're pretty much just going to be only on the quarterback. All right. Line judge base positioning, Chris said you're on the line for the initial rush for about 2 to 3 seconds. Then you're going to shuffle downfield about, I'd say more about 5 to 10 yards than 3 to 5. You want to be able to get those intermediate routes that a little bit further for the field judge and back judge, and then you'll take any spots from the field judge and back judge. But I think it'll be the next slide, but your primary responsibility is to get that initial rush, but obviously you're the line of scrimmage person for the next play. Okay.
That right there. That's exactly what you're doing. When the play's done, you have that spot for your referee.
Yeah.
All right. So wherever the play ends, you then pick up that spot from the other official.
Yeah. I think it went over.
I think this moved.
Yeah. Nope.
No, it doesn't. All right. So
Yeah. All right. Same thing. Counting.